Google leaped into the gaming industry Tuesday when it announced a new streaming service for video games. It's called Stadia. The tech giant says it hopes will bring players, viewers, and game developers together on one platform. Google's Vice President Phil Harrison made the announcement at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. Harrison said the system will give players an opportunity to instantly access a game simply by clicking a link, and they'll be able to do it with any device that's connected to the internet. The idea of a game streaming service is not unique to Google. Sony introduced its PlayStation Now streaming service in 2014, and Microsoft has a similar Xbox-related service in the works. Gamespot editor-in-chief Randolph Ramsay joins us now from San Francisco with more. Randolph, thanks so much for being with us. How exactly would a streaming service be different from how gamers play now?
Well, usually to play the latest and greatest games, you need to buy into hardware. So you need to spend a few $100s on a PlayStation or an Xbox or to spec up your PC. What Google's trying to do is eliminate that hardware need. So what they're essentially trying to offer with this service is to say that you can play the latest and greatest games as long as you have any device that can connect to the internet and can run Chrome.
Well, how would a streaming service transform the gaming industry?
It could potentially be really disruptive. If the service works as well as Google was demonstrating today, then it could really impact the whole way that we look at hardware, because hardware is usually what drives a lot of game industry success. It could also potentially really widen the market for games because, as I said before, there's that barrier of entry when you need to spend hundreds of dollars on a console. Because you can play this on any internet-enabled device, that really opens up the market to whole new gamers.
Well, if successful, what will the service mean for Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, which currently dominate the gaming world?
Well, I think Microsoft is already well in the works of trying to come up with its own competitor-like service to this. They said last year that they were going into game streaming as well. Sony is also already in game streaming, but I think that, they are under a bit of threat in terms of the hardware side of their business, because if the hardware equation is no longer a factor in games, then that really puts a hole in what Nintendo and Microsoft do.
Well, and what would it mean for Google?
What we mean for Google is a lot more eyeballs and a lot more money to their products. One of the key things that they're trying to do is actually integrate all of this gaming stuff with another successful brand of theirs, which is YouTube. So they're really trying to own that sort of like demographic that plays games, that watches games, and they just want to own it across all sectors.
Well, other companies have tried to launch a similar streaming service for video games. What is Google doing differently, and what obstacles will the company face?
Well, I think the biggest thing that Google has in its favor is its infrastructure. This whole thing works because Google has a network of data centers around the world that allows something like this to work with very little latency and very little lag. A lot of games companies don't have that. Only Microsoft, really, an established player in games, has something similar with its network. So Google already has a leg up in this type of service.
Well, 5G has been the talk of the tech world recently. What role might it play in a Netflix for video games, and is it essential to the service's success?
I don't think 5G is really essential to the current success of something like Stadia. I think Google has already said that this will work on the current broadband speeds we have available. But what 5G will actually do is open this up to a lot more consumers. As we all know, internet connectivity isn't the same everywhere, especially in remote areas. And 5G will actually solve that problem for a lot more people. So what that does is open up Stadia to even more people.
All right, Randolph Ramsay. Randolph, thanks very much.
Thank you.